Okay, I'm going to be doing a debunk on one of Destiny's videos. It's because of the implications. I just disagree with a lot of what is said here, and the video's not super old, only 15 days old.
Why are you guys sending me clips of
Eva?
Why is
Eva
talking to Prime K's?
Screw DGG chat YouTube chat all
Oh
the way.
god, she's like integrating herself into these communities.
That I wanted to sort of.
So fun fact, when I was watching this, I think I was playing Minecraft or doing something, so I wasn't super paying attention. I thought it was like the other Eva, like the woke scold lefty, they them kind of Eva. So let me.
Push back on what Catherine said because it's absolutely not true that promiscuity is like not increasing your risk, just like for contracting HIV or AIDS, because that's just not true. Like it's correlated. The more sexual partners you have, the higher your risk is. Like
I'm not saying that they're not correlated. I'm saying they're not necessarily causative, and you can change the rate. Like you can change your behaviors and how you are promiscuous to be safer.
Itself is a risk, and I don't think that's really dangerous to condone that it could be okay to be promiscuous at all.
So wait, are you actually anti-sex? You don't think anyone should have sex?
Okay.
An STD?
I don't think I said I'm anti.
We need to stop here, because that is such a bad faith retort. There are so many other prescriptive ways you could go about those descriptive thoughts other than being totally against sex. So, you could say, well, no, I'm not anti-sex, but like what she could be saying is, I just don't know about like promiscuity, which is kind of what she's talking about. Not sex in general, but promiscuity. Which like, even, like that's kind of what she's saying she's against. She's not even talking, this is something that, it's a new fallacy I thought of called speed bumping. So, like, and so let's say we're talking, there's two kind of forms of this. Usually it's like when someone's on a roll talking about something, usually in like a descriptive manner talking about something, and someone asks them a rhetorical question to throw them off their game while they're talking. Do I want to dunk my emeralds in here? I think I'm good. So like, and this is like, okay, so that's what this Catherine guy, I assume it's like a transgender person. I'm gonna call him he, just because I value brevity and keeping up a good pace and like when I'm speaking, so it's not me being a dick. Which is why I think the word tranny should be like an abbreviatory, not like a dick kind of thing. I think if 100 people adopted that word and made it abbreviatory, you could take away the power that it has, but I don't know about that. I don't know if that's true or not, but it'd be nice. But yeah, that's a totally bad faith response. Say, are you anti-sex? Well, no, we're not even talking about anti, we're saying there are problems with promiscuity. That's where we're at, and you're jumping way over to conclusions. You're like, way over here. And she's like right here. She's going through like a natural through line of talking about a conversation. We're going prescriptive, and I'll explain this later. Descriptive, personally prescriptive, and then politically prescriptive, or like political solutions. Which don't always have to happen in this case. Like you might not, and you know what? You might just have like a descriptive and not a prescriptive. So like, I'm trying to think of an example. Like, if you think there's like jeans with the fucking like holes intentionally made in them are just so fucking cringe that you can't bear the sight of them. But like, you wouldn't prescriptively say, I don't think people should wear it. It's just like, no, I don't like it. Like people, and we'll get into this later. Let's not jump ahead too much.
I think I was
Eva.
Such a hard time understanding the implications of what she's saying. Something that I've talked about a lot before. I haven't talked about this a lot. We should read or listen. There's got to be more work done on this. There's a whole field of fucking like language. And every time I ask what this is, someone will say it's not like applied linguistics. I don't know. There's some name for it.
I made Britbonga weeb here. Am I okay?
When you any sentence that you utter, like it like you'll say like this many words, but it will mean like so many different things. Like you like this will be like one statement you make, but it implies this, it implies this, it implies this, it implies this. Like everything that we say has so many implications on it. But generally, in human conversation, semiotics, is that it? Usually in human conversation, we kind of understand, like, oh yeah, this is what I mean. This is one of the reasons why it's so fucking stupid when you ask, like, can I use the bathroom? And a teacher's like, well, yeah, you can. And like, wait a second. don't you mean to ask, may I use the bathroom? It's like, okay, you stupid fuck. You know what I'm asking. When I say, can I use the bathroom, right? The full sentence, the implication is what I'm saying is like, do I have your permission to temporarily leave the class, to go into a bathroom adjacent to the hall, to relieve myself, wash my hands, and come back into the classroom afterwards without getting in trouble or without having any kind of repercussion for my actions? Like, this is like the full, but you don't have to say most of that, right? You usually just utter a few words and we kind of understand the implications, right? Because you could literally, it's funny because,
So this works in conversation. Like, the example he's about to give is like, oh, you hungry? Yeah. Like, usually that means, okay, we're going to go out to eat, or what do you want to get to eat, or what are we doing to eat? Like, that kind of thing. But that doesn't always, like, fit in political conversation. Not everything that, like... I think even Destiny's talked about this, where he doesn't like abortion, but he doesn't have any prescriptive, like, you shouldn't get an abortion, or, like, abortion should be illegal or anything like that. He just thinks it's immoral, or doesn't like it. I can't remember. He had a whole debate with Hassan about it. It's really fucking triggering me when Hassan kept referring to unborn children as parasites. Really fucking cringe and, like, just, debase and abhorrent and shit like that.
like, you can literally ask the same thing, like, oh, may I use the restroom? She's like, yeah, you may. But they could also say, like, well, I don't know, may you? Are you asking me if you can use the restroom right now? Are you asking me if you can use the restroom right now across the hallway? Are you asking me if you can use the restroom right now across the hallway and come back to the class without getting in trouble? Like, you could run that down infinitely. I don't know, like, yeah. But, like, a lot of these things are a lot of the language that we use, just as humans, just the way that we talk, there are so many implications behind every single sentence, right? And you see this every day, right? Girlfriend, boyfriend, or whoever comes up to you, it's like, hey, are you hungry? And you're like, yeah. Okay, wait, yeah, what? Like, usually if somebody says yeah, usually like, yeah, we should go get something to eat, right?
Even though we disagree on most things. I have not been following along, but you seem pretty reasonable.
Yeah, that's basically my opinion. Like, Destiny seems pretty... Of all the lefties, Destiny seems pretty reasonable. But still is kind of, like, off base in a couple things. You know, the left is, like, a good, like, story to kind of sum up the left that, like... It's like Sodom and Gomorrah, if you've ever read the Bible. Like, can you find me 10 good lefties? I've only found, like... Destiny is Lot. He's good enough to not send the angels to, like, the horde of people outside, but also not cool enough to realize that, you know, offering to send your $2 out there isn't exactly cool either. You know what I mean? Like, he's kind of in the middle like that.
Like, typically when you have a conversation like this, there's a lot that's implied. Like, hey, or like, hey, do you want to go get something to eat? Yeah, I do. And then you just sit here, and it's like, they'll come back like 5 minutes later. Are we going to go get something to eat? It's like, oh, I don't know. Do you want to go get something to eat? It's like, well, I asked you if you wanted to get something to eat. It's like, oh, yeah, I said.
Yeah, in normal conversation, this works like that, where there's a lot of implied stuff. Not necessarily politically. Because I'm sure there are probably plenty of people who maybe don't like a certain thing, but wouldn't legislate on it. So, like, I could say, oh, I don't like prostitution, I think it's immoral, I don't think you should do it, but I'm not going to legislate on it, you know? Or, like, something like that. Or even, like, you could have someone who has a, like, a descriptive issue, but not a prescriptive, like, prescription. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that simple, but again...
I said I wanted to. I didn't say I was going to. I didn't say I was going to with you. I didn't say I was going to now. Wait, what? Nobody talks like this. What do you mean? Why are you fucking with me? It's like, and technically what they're saying is true. Well, I guess they didn't actually say they were going right now. They didn't say they were going with me. They didn't say they were going to at all. They just said that they wanted to eat. Maybe it was just like a passing feeling. But usually when we talk, there's a whole lot of underlying implications that are going on. So when somebody comes out, with the mismatch here, what's happening?
Like, it's correlated. The more...
So a statement here is absolutely true. More sexual activity is, of course, associated with higher risk of transmission of certain...
And the problem is, I don't think a lot of people who are overtly sex positive realize that or even really care. It feels like to me that they're just kind of willfully ignorant of that. So they have to kind of rely on these tactics of, are you saying you're against sex or, like, you're prude or something? Like, well, no, I'm just talking about promiscuity.
Sexually transmitted infections. That's just a fact, of course.
And this is, oh my god, the promiscuity? This is like the perfect fucking example of where someone can have a descriptive dislike without a prescriptive prescription. I know I'm being redundant, but like you could say, yeah, I don't like promiscuity, but you do you. Like, that's, I think, Eva's point here.
Catherine is countering with here is like, okay, sure, but aren't there behaviors that we can like encourage
that
to
notification.
minimize the risk of that transmission? So, for instance, maybe you can have additional sexual partners, but maybe you can wear protection, or maybe you can get tested, or have a more responsible sexual environment that's conducive to not transmitting diseases, is what Catherine's coming back. The problem is they're having a mismatch on claims, right? So, again, I talk about this a lot, and I'll just...
Because Catherine's jumping from, like, I'm not sure if you can see my mouse cursor, like, way over to the left to way the fuck over here, whereas Eva is, like, going along until her stopping point. Maybe its stopping point is, like, oh, I can do this. So, Eva is right here, okay? Catherine is over here. Maybe Eva's stopping point is here, or here, or here, but Catherine's already here, and expecting a prescription. Damn it, why do I keep repeating that word? Out of Eva, who's all the way fuck over here. She's not even ready to give that yet, nor do we know if she even has one. Right now she's describing a worldview, and I keep wanting to call him Christian. Catherine is way the fuck over here. So I guess that's a good way to think about it, is that, like, it is a mismatch, but I wonder if the ignorance is sometimes willful and it's done in a bit like bad faith sometimes, I think.
refresh you for people on stream, because everybody fucks this up. This is like, everybody fucks this up, okay? When we describe a state of affairs, when we describe like how the world is, right, we're talking about a descriptive claim. So cars are blue, people tend to have two legs, somebody's an asshole, right? These are like descriptive claims, all right? Usually when we're talking in the realm of policy, or we're telling people to do things, we're working in the realm of prescriptive claims. We're working in prescriptions. So a prescription is like something ought to be done, right? Or like a moral claim is a type of prescriptive claim. It would be good, it would be morally righteous to do this thing. So a prescriptive claim might be, you should go to work. You should wake up in the morning. You should do blah, 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 right? So the problem here is, Catherine is having a discussion on the prescriptive level where she's saying, like, well, hold on. Are you saying that we ought not to have sex? Are you saying that we ought not to engage in this behavior? Are you saying that people that do this are wrong or bad, right? She's arguing on the prescriptive and moral level, which is reasonable, because if somebody starts coming out and they're saying, like...
It is reasonable, but not at this point in the discussion. It's not reasonable to do it when the other person isn't there yet. A good way to do this, if you're really concerned about it, is say, okay, I understand this is how you feel, this is how you see the world or see this issue, but do you have any prescriptive, like, do you have any prescriptions as to what people should do in relation to this? Or are you just kind of like talking about your issues? Not your issues, you know what I mean? Like, that would be a good question to ask, and that's how you separate good faith from bad faith. Because although you could be thinking way over here while this other person's way over here, a good way to engage and bridge that gap is by asking the person that's way over here, trying to bring them over kind of here as you come over here, and we talk about prescriptions. Rather than like doing the Kathy Newman, which is, are you saying, and then give the worst possible fucking example.
Oh, if you have multiple partners, much greater risk of transmission of disease. We need to make people aware, blah, blah, blah. Now, even though those are just descriptions, usually when humans give descriptive claims, there's an implied prescription behind it. So for an example of this, let's say I see somebody outside and I go, hey, if you play on that railing, you're going to fall and...
So not necessarily in politics, again.
Hurt yourself. Those are just two descriptive claims. However, if a parent were to say that to a child, you're going to get hurt if you don't get down from there. You're going to get hurt, right? I'm going to get hurt? Okay, cool. Well, no. Usually what the full implied text is, you're going to get hurt, therefore, you should get down from there to avoid getting hurt, right? You're going to hurt your sister's feelings. Therefore, you should not do that action. You're going to be late for school, right? If your mom came into your room and was like, you're going to be late for school. It's like, okay. Well, that's not all she's saying. There's a prescription behind that. You're going to be late for school, so you should get out of bed and get ready for school so that you're not late, right? So when somebody hears somebody like Eva has such a huge problem with this, just so much of a problem with this. When Eva says something like, increased sexual partners increases your risk of having health problems, of getting STDs or STIs. Usually what people hear behind that is, therefore, you should not have an increase in sexual partners. That's the implied prescription. But for whatever reason, I don't...
That's not even necessarily harmful, and that's a step down from saying, are you against sex? Like, that prescription, you probably shouldn't have more... Like, I guess in California, this is a radical fucking idea, but surprise, most people in middle America aren't polyamorous. Like that, I know it's a big fucking surprise to a lot of Californian liberals, but it's just true. Most people in like middle America believe that you probably shouldn't have more than one sexual partners. That's just a fact. So that's not even necessarily harmful. I guess it maybe if you're so down deep in this bubble safe space, like bubble, that you're just like any outside view other than the California progressive stamped like bullshit is like offensive or harmful, then I guess, but I don't suspect Destiny would stoop to that.
Know if it is a just a genuine lack of social awareness. I don't know what the...
No, see the problem is he's putting the fault on Eva. I don't know why I wanted to call her Katie. I don't know why that name sprung to my mind. Versus Catherine. Almost called her Christian again. I don't know why. Where you're placing the blame on Eva, where it's actually Catherine who is arguing in bad faith. And it is arguing in bad faith. When you imply the worst possible fucking thing to a so you're saying argument, yeah, that's bad faith. You're not trying to understand, you're not trying to understand the other person. You're trying to imply that they have some radical viewpoint. That's the Kathy Newman special.
Fuck, I thought it was too loud. I don't know what the problem is, but she absolutely just cannot understand how she can make these descriptive claims. And she's like, wait, why are you getting this descriptive claim from me? She just has no idea. Which is, and that I imagine for the rest of this clip, it's 3.5 minutes, it's probably the mismatch we're going to see. Genuine question. What?
Is this something that autistic people struggle with?
Yeah, so my understanding is
weird
that one of the...
That you would jump to saying that they're, like, autistic because, like, this is clear cut dry. Catherine's acting in bad faith. Eva's just talking about her issues and what she sees with promiscuity. And Catherine, like, is Eva conservative? Because that would explain this, like, unbelievable, like, normally unjustifiable level of bad faith as, like, okay, it's just anti-conservative bias, which is the fucking standard on this platform.
The big problem, so we used to call this Asperger's, but one of the hallmarks of autistic people, as far as I'm aware, I could be wrong in this, but a hallmark of ASD is you have a lot of trouble conceptualizing what other minds know. So like a severely autistic person, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think like a test is like, you might look at something, like a red ball, and then you put it underneath a box. And then another person will come into the room, and the autistic person will think, okay, well, they should know there's a red thing under the box because I know it. They have like a hard time conceptualizing like thoughts in other minds. That's like a really extreme example.
Others
kind of, yeah. Or like in general, like autistic people. I used to work with an autistic girl on night shift on at the casino. Autistic people can have a very, very hard time understanding how other people are feeling. It's one of the reasons why sometimes autistic people will ramble or tell inappropriate jokes or talk a lot or have a hard time like relating to people, is because they don't have a very good understanding sometimes of the internal thoughts of other people. So it can be very hard for them to understand that intuitively. They have to like spend a lot more effort and time working on it.
Is it like a "this didn't offend me, so it shouldn't offend you" type of
not
feeling?
It's not necessarily like, because when you say it that way, it sounds more selfish. It's
well,
not.
I'm not trying to make it sound selfish, but
yeah. It's more just like it's just more like I think a general problem. Like, and this is just one facet of ASD. ASD can encompass a lot of different types of behavior. But one facet of ASD is that like you can have a hard time, I think, understanding like how other people are thinking or how they consider you or other things. Yeah. Okay.
Quick question.
What?
On top of Moot's question. When we first spoke, I thought that she was doing all this because she was clout sharking a little bit. Have you changed your mind now that she's going on all the shows you used to go on and climbing her way up the corporate ladder of streaming, or do you stick to the fact that she?
I don't think she's like a clout shark, or she could be. One problem that I have with a lot of people is when I try to think of what somebody is, I notice this actually. She might be. When I try to think of what somebody is, I notice that I project a lot of my own behaviors onto that person, and I assume that they must not be that particular thing because they're not doing the things that.
This is true. The reason why you think there is only one possible prescription that can come from a descriptive statement is because that is the fucking left in its entirety. What's your solution to climate change? Top down. What's your solution to the problems that women face in gaming? Top down. What's your solution to this? Top down. What's your solution to that? Top down. Every fucking solution is, well, the government will take care of it. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised that if you're in a liberal bubble, that everyone would naturally have this one single conclusion that they reach to. And that, that's just not true. Of normal people.
I would do.
But I don't know why liberals are so fucking narrow-minded when it comes to this. That's their only solution. Which is why Destiny got in a lot of trouble for the fucking Just Move thing. For even suggesting that people in dire situations have agency. He got in a lot of trouble for that. From the fucking, not just the socialists or communists, but a lot of his chat who were sock dem or whatnot. Gave him a lot of shit because he dared say that fucking people who are poor or need to move or whatnot have agency, and they're not just slaves to a system or something. Liberals will say that to strawman, but then go on to strawman conservatives and say that there's nothing that the government can do to help you, that it's all your own fault. No, that's generally not true, and you know it.
So, for instance, if I was a clout chaser and I was a girl, I would fuck my way up streamer ladders instantly without even a second thought because that would be the easiest way to climb. But she doesn't do stuff like that. So I would assume, okay, well, if you're trying to clout chase, you're doing it really poorly, so you must not be doing it. But it might just be that people are bad at it. I did the same thing with Fed as well. When Fed released his first document, some people were like, well, maybe Fed is trying to manipulate the situation. And it's I don't think Fed would do that because there are way better ways to do it, and he wouldn't release texts that are so obviously disproven with one or two more pictures.
Words,
yeah, there's no way. That would be so dumb. But then when Pokey released her thing, and then when I talked extensively with Pokey, Fed fucked up a lot in that. And I was wait, why the fuck would you do that? So maybe sometimes I have an error where I assume that people are too efficient or too Machiavellian or too adept at what they're trying to do. So I guess it's possible maybe that she does try to clout chase. She's just really, really bad at it. But I don't know. It's hard to tell the difference between incompetency versus a lack of desire.
How do you feel that she's integrating herself into your world a little bit? You looking forward to doing some political podcasts with her?
I don't care. I can interact with her anywhere. I don't. It doesn't bother me at all.
Wait, is she still messaging you to this day?
She hasn't in a few days, but.
I'm not saying that they're not correlated. I'm saying they're not necessarily causative.
So to bring this back, so Catherine is trying to argue on the prescriptive level, saying well, hold on, are you saying that people should or shouldn't have, promiscuous sex? You're saying that people shouldn't do that? And Catherine's not understanding, right, which is fair, because I wouldn't expect anybody to. Catherine's understanding that Eva has no fucking idea what her implied prescriptive claim is, because Eva thinks she's just making observations. I'm just observing. I'm just making remarks.
You can change the rate, you can change your behaviors and how you are promiscuous.
So you notice when Catherine's talking about changing behaviors, she's talking about well, what should we do? What ought we do? She's in the realm of the prescriptive right now.
No, safer is a risk. And I don't think that's really dangerous to condone that it's okay to be promiscuous at all.
So, wait, are you actually anti-sex? You don't think anyone should have sex because they might get an STD?
I don't think I said I'm anti-sex.
Yeah, that's such a bad faith response.
And now she pulls this is the classic Jordan Peterson. This is the.
That's funny that you would say that when the Jordan Peterson, quote unquote, is a fucking response to the Kathy Newman bad faith response. So it's funny that you would characterize Peterson that way when he was only doing it to respond to Kathy Newman. But okay, buddy. And whatever gets you your fucking tier 3 subs and your audience full of dipshits, whatever. What I mean, also, I think I've probably said this multiple times that, you can give a, descriptive worldview without having a prescriptive solution to go along with it. So, I think most people will say they don't like something like smoking or smoking's a bad example because, like, I'm sure most people, if it were actually destroying their lungs or whatnot, like, would tell their loved ones to stop smoking, save them from, like, overeating or whatnot. But I mean, like, most people aren't these, like, super political debate bros that have every fucking like, understanding of politics and, like, have a prescriptive solution to every single descriptive claim. Most of them, if they have some descriptive thing, they don't. Well, if you ask them, okay, what should we do? I don't know, but they're just talking about something they don't like. You know what I mean? Like, fuck. Not everything has to be this debate bro shit.
Classic Jordan Peterson, because Catherine, who I'm assuming, well, I shouldn't use autistic so freely. I'm assuming Catherine, like, has decent social skills because she's reading this as any normal human being would read this. Is saying, like, you should not be talking about, like,
I think most normal human beings would read this as a bad faith encounter on Catherine's part.
you know, promiscuous sex is okay, blah, blah, blah. You are going to increase the risk. So Catherine is hearing, like, oh, you're saying that we shouldn't. So then Catherine rightfully asks, and so many people stumble into this Peterson trap. And Catherine is asking, well, hold on. Are you against, like, casual sex? And
Eva.
pulls the classic
That's
Peterson
not what she
reporter.
asked.
Well, hold on. I never said that now, did
Hold
I?
the fucking phone, buddy. That's not what she said. She didn't say, are you against casual sex? She said, are you not just against sex, but anti-sex? That is a huge fucking distinction that you are obviously hiding or trying to ignore because you're obviously trying to support one side of the argument. It's clear to me that that was not the question that was asked. It is, are you anti-sex?
Now, technically, that's correct. She never did say you should be against this. But any reasonable human listening to her statements, when she's not giving a prescriptive claim, is probably going to feel...
Try getting out of the debate bro bubble for a little bit. Most reasonable people don't think like this in terms of, like, descriptive and prescriptive. That's why you had to fucking explain it at the beginning.
fill that in. Like,
Even your fucking stream chat, like, you had to explain it for your stream chat, who watches you debate constantly. You had to explain it. Most people don't think like this.
oh, well, she probably thinks we should...
This is, I like you, dude, and I don't mean to be a dick, but I'm just saying this is a result of, like, your biases because of your involvement in this platform and in politics. Like, most people do not think like this.
have sex. So now Catherine is going to fight with an argument that Eva never made, and then it is technically going to be correct, but, like, socially is just, like, so disconnected from how most people read these.
No, I don't. We're talking in circles, but I just don't agree with that. I don't think that that's how. I don't think that's how that works, though. Like, because we're. I think what Eve was trying to do is a very linear thing, where we'll get to the prescriptive. She gets to the prescriptive if she has it later on, but right now we're just talking about descriptive. What Catherine's doing is jumping way the fuck over. Again, I'm repeating myself.
Destiny doesn't have the slightest understanding of Jordan Peterson. You're making a straw man of Peterson. Nope, we've watched plenty of Peterson videos on stream before. It's great if you're a massive Peterson fanboy.
Okay, so why does every objection to your strawmanning bullshit of Peterson have to be a Peterson fanboy? That's really fucking dumb, and I think it's beneath you. Like, so Peterson did this once, and now it is like, holy shit, you're the guy that makes fun of the French for, like, it says they're all, like, cowards and runaways because they ran away and won war. Like, holy shit. Like, I think he's only done it one time, and it's against Kathy Newman, who is a bad faith, low IQ debater. Like, either she's intentionally bad faith or just really fucking dumb. So yeah, I think it's a proper defense to say, no, that's not my prescriptive solution. Will you please stop trying to do this so you're saying argument?
If you want to see Peterson do this in real time, my favorite one is him talking to the Asian kid about, like, women's place in the workplace. He'll do this relentlessly. Well, women have a lot of problems integrating in the workplace. Women cause a lot of trouble, blah, 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 blah. Women, blah, 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 blah. You know, we don't know what the rules are. And the guy's like, well, do you think that women shouldn't be in the workplace? Peter's like, I never said that. It's like,
again, that's a bad faith response. His solution just could just be, well, maybe, fuck, you know what? It's funny. The solution could be, maybe we need to make it to where women are more welcome in the workplace, or maybe we can make it to where women don't have these problems in the workplace. That would go right along with some, like, feminist saying that, but, like, he maybe just doesn't consider himself as, maybe just people don't like to have fucking prescriptive things. I'm like, that's not my place. I don't fucking feel like I'm so important that I need to give you like some prescription on high of what you should do. Maybe Peterson, that's what he thinks. I don't know. Maybe you should have a discussion with him instead of like, it's not even really strawmanning him because you're just like applying one or two, you're cherry picking, you're applying one or two situations and like applying it to his character, which is really fucking weird. Also, I like how your justification for you being right was not like, it was one example, and we've watched tons of Jordan Peterson. Good job.
Okay.
But this is like, there's so many other things that Destiny does good, and like, the Kyle Rittenhouse shit was amazing. Like, oh my god, those fucking lefty arguments were so dumb. And him calling out the hypocrisy of like, well, I think borders were just imaginary lines on a map. But Kyle Rittenhouse cross state lines, like, oh my fucking god, that was so great. There's like calling out like the bad fucking arguments of like saying he was like a white supremacist because he had Blue Lives Matter shit. Like, holy fuck, that was so good. And then you do these bad faith things where you just completely,
Okay, well, what do you
intentionally or unintentionally, misunderstand very basic things.
saying? What?
Like, am I crazy? You can't get to 3 until you've got 1 and 2. Like, you can't get to, if you go watch Trump's first speech as he's going down the escalator, he does this. It's the prescriptive. They're bringing drugs. They're bringing crime. And some of them are good people. Then, the solution. We're building a wall. Okay. That's how normal people in politics do it. That's how you do it. It's a linear process. And you're defending a bad faith fucking retort because maybe Catherine has some conclusions you and him disagree with.
What if he's just pointing to a
Or her. It sounds like a guy. Maybe, I don't know.
a situation? He's not saying no, women shouldn't be, but this situation does exist.
Sure,
Like,
but the
whatever
problem is like we don't need popular figures to give us description. We need prescription. So we need you to tell us
situation. He's not saying no, women shouldn't be, but what if
blah 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 blah. You know, we don't know what the rules are. And the guy's like, "Well, do you think that women shouldn't be in the workplace?" And he's like, "I never said that." It's like, okay, well, what are you saying?
What if he's just pointing to a situation? He's not saying no, women shouldn't be, but this situation does exist.
Sure,
Like,
but the
whatever
problem is like we don't need popular figures to give us description. We need prescriptions. We need you.
So I don't agree that popular figures need to give us prescriptions, and I think that's one of the fundamental differences between you and I. I think people are fundamentally capable of coming up with good prescriptions on their own. So like, I'm trying to think of a good example, but like, you could watch, say, a Milo Yiannopoulos speech about like abortion, and some of the things about like the people who started Planned Parenthood, some of the things they've said, and they're just like some like descriptive things about abortion. And even though he gives a prescriptive, it's wrong, it's murder, you shouldn't do it, you can, even if he didn't, like, you could come away with like your own kind of opinion. You know what I mean? Like, we don't watch our favorite YouTubers to figure out what our political opinions are. We usually watch certain YouTubers because we usually have some opinions. And usually, I don't know, it's just so dumb that we need some prescriptive message from on high, from our favorite YouTubers, to like tell us how we should see the world. No. Usually people who are watching political videos on YouTube have a pretty decently well honed opinion of the world. Decently well honed like worldview.
To tell us what to do. It's not enough to just say like, "Hey, this is a problem." Like, okay, well, how do we fix it? Right? Especially when you're in an influential position. Especially when you know.
Or what if you just don't know? What if you just, again, you talked about maybe I'm just aspiring like Machiavellian traits to people who are just kind of dumb. Maybe Peterson just like doesn't know, but like he figures that explaining that doing that first step of description is good enough, and then collectively, what's this more widely recognized, collectively, we can come to a decision on our own on what should happen, what changes should be made. maybe that's his opinion. I don't know. Probably good to talk to him. Like, I'm glad you talked to Milo. I'm glad you talked to Tippool. You should talk to Carter. You should talk to Jordan Peterson. Talk to everybody.
That people are going to make their own prescriptions if you don't actually give them.
Okay.
But okay.
Oh,
Well, so-
you
no,
just gave me
The
my argument.
logic of
People
your
are going to make their own prescriptions. That's fine. Sometimes it might be harmful. Guess what? Those are individual people who don't really affect much. Most people aren't going to come to the most, like, harmful prescription if you aren't given one. Like, I don't know, it's just kind of dumb.
I think it's Are you anti-promiscuity?
Yeah, so having sex with one person, like, that is some amount of promiscuity, right? Like, that puts you at risk.
No, that's not usually what's considered.
That's not
promiscuous.
promiscuity.
Well, that depends on who you talk to, right? If
So I guess I'm talking about having more sexual partners than what is the statistical average.
So are you against people having more than one sexual partner? I'm
just
confused.
talking about the research. Like,
Oh, okay.
She
Talking about the
backs
research.
into this again, like, whoa, I'm just talking about the research. I'm just making descriptive claims.
Okay.
I mean, I think
I'm confused.
I think
Eva.
what you're trying to say is that
And I feel weird repeating myself, but it's just so true that there is a mismatch between what's going on, and there is nothing wrong with asserting that we are not there yet. You need to fucking slow your roll and wait for me to get there. If I ever do decide to get there, then we can talk about what I believe. Because right now, as she just said, just talking about the research, bro. Okay, so just like chill. That's what kind of needs to happen. To kind of get... But like, it's not bad to say that. It's not like tricky debate tactics. It's not like... It's not bad to say, hey, I'm just talking about fucking how I see the world. Is that okay with you? Great.
like this is
I
a
don't know why you're vilifying that. It seems really fucking strange, dude.
risk factor, and you don't want anyone to walk away thinking it's not a risk factor.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay, so Prime Case is coming in with the understanding, and I think even if he doesn't have, like, I don't know what his background is, but even if he doesn't have, like, the vocabulary to describe exactly what's going on, intuitively he understands where the disconnect is. Oh,
Eva.
you're just saying this thing, right? So he's here to broker between these two, which is positive.
behavior.
And
But you're not passing,
it's-
as far as I understand, you're not passing a moral judgment on a person who does engage
Not passing moral judgment. You're not making a prescription. You're just making an observation. Yeah.
Yes.
in promiscuity. But like, are you,
No.
okay, great. So,
Yeah, okay, that's good to clarify that.
I'm
I would,
against
my
the
point,
behavior. I'm still against the behavior, but I mean, like, just personally. I mean, also,
Okay, but then it
Eva.
fucks up by giving a personal opinion on something. Oh, dude, this is the most Weasley way to say something. Okay,
It's not Weasley, though. It's like, okay, now we're at the prescriptive. Or, no. Okay, it's time to bring it out. Time to bring the doc out. Okay. So, what I was going to go into is, perhaps if you're familiar with Game Maker's Toolkit, you will be familiar with, hiding it for now, familiar with the idea of the Mario 3D Land thing, where an idea is introduced, challenge is added, a twist is added to make it brand new, then it's thrown away in a conclusion. So, that idea can translate to politics really well. Okay, so let's look at our... Oh yeah, I was gonna do like a top 10 Mario Maker 3 items I want or something. So the 4 stages are introduction. So the introduction would just be a descriptive sentence without any backing, because we're about to get into that. So if I say, I think abortion is genocide, it's state funded. I think it's wrong, I think it's murder. I don't think you should, no, I don't think it would be a, prescriptive. But yeah, like, if you say it's wrong, it's murder, and then we go into the data, or your reasonings, which is, there is a human life inside your body that you have a responsibility, a moral responsibility to keep alive. Just like you have a moral responsibility to keep your kid safe, even after he's born. It's very simple. I don't know why this doesn't, like, translate to liberals, but whatever. And again, this is where I feel like a lesser faith, or like a bad faith liberal would say, okay, well, do you think, hang on, we'll get to it. So yeah, we do the descriptive sentence with no backing data, then we add that data as like applying that, it's like translating applying the challenge vector, where it's applying reasons. We're applying why we think this. And then instead of twisting the idea on its head to make a new mechanic, it's turning this idea into a prescriptive view. And so before we even get that, a bad faith retort to me would be the oh, sorry, I'm a hunting pecker and I've got a cat on my lap. Would be the so you're saying, like, bad faith response. We haven't even gotten to like this whole section. Oops. We haven't even gotten here. But what Catherine is doing is doing this before we've even got here. Okay, so that's my problem. This is a linear introduction of an idea and then adding a prescriptive like layer to it. It is very simple. Right, let's get this out of the way. So we go to turning the idea into prescriptive view. So this is where we add personal thought, like if I were a woman, I wouldn't get an abortion, blah blah blah. Or Hassan's, I personally wouldn't say the N-word. And this is where I think some people might think that Destiny's doing bad debate tactics, because they might see that I personally wouldn't, like to be a message of value or something of value, so they say it, not realizing that what the person wants is what other people should do. Oh, sorry. And then we add the behavioral prescriptive or prescriptions. You should or should not do statements. And then we conclude by adding the political solution. So I would be willing to bet that 75% of the people in Destiny's chat would unironically, if you ask them, would unironically believe that Tucker Carlson is a white nationalist. So the political solutions are super important. So I watched a video by TYT. It was a Hassan who needs to pay his editors and is white. Who was talking about how Tucker Carlson was a white nationalist because he made, I believe, I might be paraphrasing, but quote unquote, what about white people arguments, which I guess it's wrong to care about white people now, whatever. Or talking about like birth rates or replacement rates or something. He said that this is white nationalist rhetoric. Well, yes, white nationalists do use that talking point. What matters more is the prescriptive statements and the political solutions you come to. So none of the people who believe that Tucker Carlson is a white nationalist could honestly and good faith look me in the eye and say that he unironically believes in a white ethno-state. You kind of have to do that to be a white nationalist. That's their bread and butter. Just like a welfare state is a Democrat bread and butter. You kind of have to believe in that to be a Democrat. I rhymed. Look at that. So the political, and Destiny falls into this trap as well, because I believe even he thinks that Tucker Carlson is a white nationalist, or kind of like, or at least extreme. He's looking at the rhetoric they use, which might be a little bit pointed, rather than the political solutions or the prescriptions. But now he's looking at prescriptions because it's relevant to his argument, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, this is super important. It's a linear fucking trail. It is a linear fucking, like, idea that, like, you have to go through in order. Because it doesn't make sense to start from the prescriptive. I guess you could. You could say, well, you could say, oh, I don't think Twitch should allow, like, e-thoughts. And then you give, well, I think, well, I guess it would be kind of around here. Well, I think that, you know, these e-thoughts are, like, manipulative, that, like, they've got these simps that pay them tons of money. There's also a website with children on it. We should have some sort of separation. Like, Twitch shouldn't allow it. And then, you know, another thing is I think they're bad. I guess you could go in that order, but if you're gonna start here, why would you go over here and not, like, just go here, then here? Like, it's a linear line down, and I don't know why Destiny doesn't understand that.
Research says this, and I personally don't like this, but I didn't say don't do it. It's like the ultimate, like, trying to have, like, all of the cake and eat all of the cake as well. Yeah, this is the Hassan
No, it's so dumb, dude. Come on. It's a very simple concept. I personally don't like drinking. But I'm not going to tell you not to, okay? I don't like drugs. I don't like smoking. I don't like drinking. I don't care what you do, just don't do the drugs around me, okay? I guess that's kind of a prescriptive, but not in the sense that we normally think of. Like, so I personally wouldn't do it, but you can go ahead. That's a valid fucking description. That's a valid fucking statement. But of course, in a political, like, debate, it might not be seen as valid as the prescriptive what you think others should do. Ugh, I don't know, it's just such a fucking headache. And it seems kind of egotistic to, like, this is my, like, you should or shouldn't do it. Was it Ben Franklin who was like, didn't he write a book or something that's like, these are virtues I need to live to, not what I think others should live to, something like that. I don't know if every person needs to give their, like, prescription from on high or whatnot. But if they do, fine. And I don't even think the whole, like, you probably shouldn't be promiscuous, that's not super harmful. I don't think.
Argument. Oh yeah, when I tried to argue with him about, like, do you think you should say bad words in private? And he's like, well, personally, I would do it. It's like, that's not what I'm asking. I'm not asking what do you think.
Yeah, I can understand why people, like, because you're delegitimizing essentially their personal views on it. And maybe if you just gave them a little bit of time to speak, maybe they would get there on their own. Maybe you should try that. I don't know.
You should call the cops if somebody's walking down an alley and they're going to rob you. Well, personally, I wouldn't call the cops. Like, I don't care what you personally do. I'm not asking what you personally do. I'm asking what you think people should do. Yeah.
So you are against promiscuity?
Yeah, but that's, I mean, I'm against the
personally, on a personal level, you don't like promiscuous people?
No, I think, well, no, I didn't say I don't like promiscuous people. You're putting words in my mouth. I said I don't like
So you
behavior.
don't like people
The
being
behavior and the person are completely different, you know? Like, you can
True.
So,
Eva.
again with the descriptions. Oh, fuck, it's so interesting to watch this from a third-person perspective, because now nobody can accuse me of being biased. She totally just does not understand how the implications of a lot of what she says. So
Eva
legitimately thinks that she could go up to somebody and say, like, hey, just so you know, when you do this, it's narcissistic. When you do this, it's promiscuous. When you do this, you elevate your risk factors for that, that, and that. And most normal humans will hear that and be like, holy shit, why do you fucking hate me so much?
No,
like,
no, I reject this. Only the most, like, self-insecure, neurotic, fucking, like Anna would probably believe that. Like, but not normal people, like, maybe subconsciously, subconsciously if you say, oh, do you want to get a drink, get a beer? No, I don't drink. Maybe some people would read into that, they're like, as an attack, but I don't think most people would.
You, and then she would repeat the line, behaviors and people are two totally separate things.
True.
Well, most people don't view it that way. Most people are pretty essentialist when it comes to, like, behaviors. Most people identify people as being the summation of their behaviors, not that these are distinctly separate things.
Where am I going? There you are, buddy.
behavior.
Sure.
I mean, I don't like drugs either, but I mean, I don't dislike people who do drugs.
Exactly. There
True.
we go.
Yeah,
like,
there you go.
it's an issue of other people exist and other people do things, and I decide what I let into my life. That's all it is.
Right, exactly. That's all. That's
Yeah.
all. I mean, I'm just being open. Like, yeah, of course. Like, it's still like I'm just like disclosing that. Like, yeah, I still personally don't agree with it, but yeah, I'm not passing judgment on like other people.
Neither.
I'm not, like,
I don't drink myself, but I don't pass judgment on everyone else in the plan who does drink. So
True.
I understand what you're saying.
Seriously, how are your actions removed from you? What I'm saying is there's a difference between so we say this differently linguistically, but these also occupy different places in our mind. There's a difference between thinking that somebody's behavior is abusive versus thinking that somebody is abusive. There's a difference between somebody believing that somebody can act like an asshole versus somebody is an asshole. Linguistically, the difference is minor, but in our head, these things are very, very, very different. People that we have favorable views of, we tend to view their behavior and their character somewhat separately if it's a negative behavior, and people that we have negative views of, their behavior becomes an essential component of who they are. So rather than saying that, like, this person makes mistakes sometimes, people are like, this person is a mistake. This is like an essential part of the character.
Yeah. And I wanted to say, like, yeah, Anna's absolutely correct. It is a risk factor to be more promiscuous than less promiscuous, but it's also something that you can manage, and you have to know that it's a risk factor to manage your risk factors.
Steven?
You know what the best, like, OP strat for managing the risk factor, like, of all that shit is? Just having one sexual partner. Now, that's my descriptive view, but really, you can do whatever the fuck you want. See? These things are not, like, the implications may vary. Is a serious thing that you should think about. Is that, like, just, like, I could say, okay, I think um, there are problems to being promiscuous, and I personally wouldn't do it, but I'm not going to say that you shouldn't do it, because I don't think that's my place. I think that's completely valid, and I think you're acting a little bit ludicrous in this.
Click the link I sent you on Discord.
What? Okay.
I had a debate with a big streamer, and I'm not saying the name obviously, but oh my god, that was the worst ever, and I still get fucking harassed for that shit. And like, it was just like constant questioning, like everything I said, of like, just like, no, she's wrong on that, no, she doesn't know what she's talking about, no, that's wrong. Like, oh my god, like so many comments. I'm just like sitting there like, wait, are you really gonna try and like explain to me narcissism? What? What? It was so strange. Oh god, that was like the wildest thing ever. But that was like a pretty toxic community. That's like the worst experience. But yeah, it was just a lot of questioning of like all my knowledge, and it was really weird because it's like, I don't know, it's just strange to me because it's like, I mean, you would expect someone, I think, in their master's program to like know these things, and it's just odd when people who like are, I don't know, they just, it was like it was mostly men, absolutely, but yeah.
I think you and I have a shared experience with.
Oh, so you know what I'm referring to? Okay.
yes. You and I have a shared experience with a certain larger streamer.
Oh, they were the Navy person who was saying there were no differences between men and women on a biological level. That might have been. Man, dude, that whole debate brought out the worst of the worst in terms of argumentation. Holy fuck.
So professionally.
God, I remember that debate. That was... I especially loved when the other trans person was like, well, maybe the bourgeoisie won't give up their property. Then, well, maybe we will have to, kill them. Like, whoa, mask off there, buddy. Why do all these socialists, like, go completely fucking mask off? Like, Vosh saying, like, he would kill, like, Skills Me for fun. Like, then again, Vosh is kind of like a fascist. Like, or at least kind of acts like one. But yeah, I think that's about good. I think that's where the discussion ends. I think, yeah, I just think we disagree. I think it's completely plausible and like acceptable and like normal to have a. God, okay, there we go. Have a like descriptive worldview without having a prescriptive thing. Like, I think most people, I think this is just informed by like the biases of why the fuck do I go up here? Of just being a large debater and talking with a lot of people who have like nearly perfectly honed political ideologies. That was dumb. And like, so naturally you just kind of come to thinking of, well, is that a shulker? No, stairs. Well, everybody must have a prescriptive world, like, everybody must have a prescription to what they're saying, because all these people do. Damn it. Okay, we have to set up some dirt. Because I just want to go to the mid-level. Here we go. So, like, what you... Yeah, that's it. Damn it. What you think, what you say is, like, the Jordan Peterson special is really just, like, okay, I want to call attention... Maybe it's just because he does videos and, like, hey, I want to call attention to this problem. You can do that without having a prescriptive worldview. And it's totally fine to just kind of let people come to their own conclusions about what they think. I think that's totally fine. Maybe you don't. Maybe you don't think people should have that freedom. I don't know. But yeah, I think that's it. I'm gonna stop the recording. Sorry for rambling. Yeah, see you next time.